Alright, so we're doing part 2. This is gonna be alright. It's gonna be... I'm not gonna make any extraordinary claims here, but it'll be fun in some ways. So, looks like it's working. I figured out how to get a I figured out how to use Restream with a scheduled stream. So now you won't have the issue if you're waiting on YouTube for me to stream, then it should now stream on that one rather than starting a new stream. So you won't have to switch streams basically. So hopefully that's convenient for anybody or everybody. In just a moment here, I'm gonna get started. So, you know, we were working on the chat system earlier, and I guess I still have IRC there. I'm doing some discrete math review. That's why I was gone. Trying to just memorize that stuff, you know, like a lot of the CS stuff, like trees and all, and graphs and all that. You know, it's pretty easy, so it's kind of boring actually just to copy the notes, and just for memorization purposes. So let's see. Alright, so we got this going. Looks like Twitch is going as well. Alright, so let's get started. I'll stop saying So where we left off was we were working on a new class that I called Chat Connection Manager. And so what that does, or what that's going to do, is manage our connection pool and also manage users that join the chat, and we can handle the stream events and give that to our chat provider, or trigger that in our chat provider. And so what else? Well, it looks like I have some confusion here on what action is actually supposed to be here. So I said that I would do some Python coming up here, and so if we look here, this seems to be the only Python desktop layout that we have open. So, and what we have here on the left is the routing for the WebSocket connect and disconnect. Looks like we have a room ID here, and it can have alphanumeric characters in the room ID. We also have a disconnect, so that's all right. And then we have, this is just some back-end stuff, like our channel layer and where our routing is, which is in this file. So, and then the router here, we configure the chat routing, I believe, and I don't see it here. So let's see. So we have, that's in media, right? So that's not going to be there actually. So that's going to be chat URLs, huh? No, it's in chat routing, but it looks like we don't really have a URL for it. So that's a problem. Are we importing this anywhere? Let's see. Well, maybe it's configuring it automatically. Let's look up here. Channel layer. Channel development server at 8,000. And yeah, I think it's just doing it automatically. It's including it on this chat route here. So any chat room is under that route. So okay, that's fine. Now we have consumers here, and what this is going to be is it's our list of actions that involve a chat room. In some aspect. We have the WebSocket connect and disconnect here, which will just send an offer to all clients, and it looks like this is done through a channel session. So now my question here is, what's the channel name and what's the action? So there's a reply channel, and I'm assuming there's a send channel. So we have content, message content. And when we do a group send, I'm assuming it sends it to all of them. Now, what it looks like is maybe that the channel that's coming through is the chat dash room ID. I'm going to format this differently. So instead of having the percent there, that's kind of an old style. We'll just do this. And we'll do that with everything here as well. I don't think that this is a good thing to do, to have C-style format in Python. I wouldn't like to keep it that way. So actually we can turn this into a method. Let's go ahead. We can actually. So let's just return. Let's call this the chat group name, or get chat group name. And we're gonna need message, and that's what we're returning. Yeah, so I want this to be a little shorter, so I'm just gonna say get chat get chat group, you know. So yeah, I'm just doing a little cleanup here because I want it to be as clear as possible what's happening, and it's good to be explicit. So we can do this. We can say yeah, that's fine. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're just trying to figure out some basics. And so now we just need to provide a message to the get chat group method. So, you know, you can do that. It's kind of silly, like you might think that, you know, this is unnecessary, but it's always nice to do this. I could just have this as a class, but I opted for the functional way of doing it because I felt that would be better in this case, because I just want a simple chat for now. So yeah, let's go ahead. So let's replace this with chat group and message. Yes. We might just want to, honestly, I don't know why I'm making this harder for myself. I'll just return the group. Like what? Yeah, I'm not gonna turn a group, you know. If I'm not making sense, I'm kind of mumbling part of this, so it's kind of hard to understand. Maybe. So, are you getting any errors? Probably. No, we're fine. Yeah. Anyway, so now that we have a method that just gets the chat group, what we ought to do is some kind of thing. Alright, I guess that. So the room and a message is the chat message stuff, but we want some kind of message for a username list or some kind of profile list of all the people who are on the chat, right? So we're going to do that. We're going to have some kind of pure list going on. Now, the message content, it appears, is going to have the offer in it. So as soon as we connect to the WebSocket, we're sending that offer. So let's go ahead, let's go back to the JavaScript. I was just cleaning this up, taking a look at it so I knew sort of what was going on. I'm still sort of confused about the channel name. It looks like the channel name might be the route name, or sorry, the stream name is the route name. So we look here. So this is an example of how to get multiple peers working in WebRTC, and it's done it's not functional. I want to call this functional. This is more so just, you know, imperative, and so it's limited in various ways, whereas my system is going to be class-based, and it's going to allow a framework for creating a chat in any web page, not just the web page that I'm working with. Right, so let's go and see what the routing has to do with the channel names. And so channel name is the main thing being routed on. Okay. Routing objects. So there's a route class, and include. Right. Okay, channel names. So it takes a channel name, a consumer function, and optional keyword arguments. So let's look at the routing. And so it looks like we're taking the channel name, which is the WebSocket Connect. That's the WebSocket Connect. And we have a disconnect. That's pretty simple. That's what we have so far. Now, when we connect to this, it's going to connect to the base URL, which is WebSocket Connect. And so that's the channel name. So the next thing after we connect is that we are listening for any output from any action. And we're binding it to a name, right? Now, the action here for, let's say, visit isn't here. So let's go ahead and add a visit route. So, yeah, we have a visit route. We're going to call it this other thing. Let's go ahead. Actually, we don't need the settings here, I think. We're just dealing with the in-memory channel backend. So we don't really need to change that for now. Let's go to the consumers. Let's create a new consumer method. And I don't like this WS underscore thing, but I won't change that, at least for now. Alright, so let's go ahead and create the visit method like we said. I'm just going to copy some of it, some of this. And we're going to name this WS underscore visit. That's the most obvious. And we're going to import all consumers here because why bother being explicit about it if we're using all of them anyway. So let's go ahead and get the chat group based off of the message. And so this is going to be our group. And the thing about this group is that we're going to need to add the visitor to the group's list of active attendees. So let's go ahead and see how we can do that. The way that seems to be the way to do it is to add it in the channel session. So this would take very little memory, considering that we're just storing IDs, right? So let's visit the group and let's say take the group, take the group, and we're going to send it data which updates the list of peers and with this user's name. So this is what we'll say. We'll say the channel for visits. Let's send a message. So we don't need to do group send actually. Looks like yeah. So we'll send the room visit, and we'll send the visit channel using the. Looks like we don't actually need the group here at all. That's kind of good. Send the room. Well, we need the room as context, right? And then we're going to send a peer. What this is going to be is we're just going to take the ID of the peer and send it to everybody. Now, what I would like to do actually though is to have a profile and have this be fetching the profile from the user's you know, from the user. So that's kind of an issue because they need to be authenticated, and thus we need to see if there's a way to get the current user from a channel. So let's see, we have this documentation. Let's look up authentication, and we didn't get anything. So what this could mean is that perhaps there's no way to do that without calling a database. Oh, here we are, authentication. Now, okay. Right, exactly. We can't. We have to identify who the user is. Now, you can use the Django session either from cookie or from session key. That's only if you're running the WebSocket server on the same domain as the main site. Yes, so this is the second one is what we want to do, a session key get parameter. Okay. So, alright, and the channel session user from HTTP is going to get the okay. Alright, so what it sounds like is we don't actually need the visit, and that on connection we simply can derive the user. Now I don't know if it restricts it to authenticated users or if it can possibly accept the connection from a non-user. So we'll say we want the auth methods. And so message user will contain the user, but only, you know, if they have a username or something to identify by them, or to identify them, right? So it adds them to the right group, but now the issue with that is that adding them to the group will not notify everybody that that person joined. It will simply, it will notify them, but it won't tell them who they are. And so when we add them to the group, we also want to tell everybody who's a part of the group. And so that's what we'll do is we will do on connect, we'll simply do the visit. All right. So let's go ahead, let's remove that route. And we'll infer the visitor through their authenticated requests. If it is authenticated, if they have a Django session, if they have, you know, that thing there, so anyway, so we had the base connect connected to that, and the base connect message. So we're going to have a route swipe socket receive, and we'll do a US connect message. And we'll have that as the path as well. I think we need to have that. And so once we connect here, we're sending a message. We want to send a message immediately that we're connecting, we're sending an offer to the clients, but we also want to send a an offer with our profile, which we get from here. So we'll have that there, and this here. And all right, now we have the profile sort of. Let's go ahead. Let's get the user from the message user. And so profile, we will do this. We will say, there it is, user profile. Or, so we'll do this. We'll say try. Sorry. And then we'll accept any error, which is bad. Actually, let's say this. So if message user is anonymous, then a profile will simply be an ID of something random, I guess. Now, the thing is we don't want to collude with any other IDs. But we want a unique identifier for this peer, even though they're anonymous. And so we'll probably have to have some sort of session storage for existing peer IDs, and since we seem to have something like that with the channel session, I guess we're going to have to query it for what IDs exist. And so let's go ahead and make a method for that, which is get anonymous ID and username is empty. So we'll just call this user guest, and so we'll get that using the session, and so we'll have to query the session, so we can say session, and how do I get the list of users? Okay, right. Alright, so I guess we just have to assign the users in there as part of the session. But with group, that's why I'm confused with group, is that the group should have that information. So let's see, group. So a group is simply a group of channels, not necessarily a group of individual connections. And so when we create a group, we're grouping multiple channels into the same group of channels, right? So that has nothing to do with any users being there at all, really. So anytime we send a text message, we're going to want to send the ID of this user, which is, going to be the message user ID. Or an anonymous ID, which is provided, I assume. So if there's no ID, then it's a problem, actually. Let's go ahead and mark this as a PD. Alright, and we have the user profile here. If they are not anonymous, then they do have a real profile. Now, the thing is, though, is we want to serialize that profile. So we'll go here in media, and we should have a serialized profile, and what we'll do book slide profile details is a field, and all right. So we'll do this. We'll say account serializer. Anyways, return this. And so let's see. Oops. Okay. Now, I'm going to do instance equal that, and we will see what is in the profile account. Program. Private account profile details. What is that? Okay, that's not really relevant. So we don't actually need a profile. We just need the user info. That's what I'll call it for this channel message. And so we have an instance of the account serializer. Media. So serializer is valid. We call it that. So if serializer, right. We don't need to do that. Info. Oh. Right, so we have the user info as some sort of ID or what? You know, the username, the information about the peer so that it broadcasts it to the rest of the chat. So I know for a fact that if someone joins as an authenticated user, that I'm talking to that authenticated user, not some person pretending to be that user. Now, given the session, we can determine what users are actually here. So let's do this. We'll say that we need to change the session to contain some form of ID for anonymous users. So basically what we'll do is we'll say IDs session, or sorry, message session channel session IDs. Since this is not guaranteed to be an array, we'll say so first we'll see what it is. So if IDs is defined as some sort of list, I don't recall off the top of my head. Let's see. Okay. So, I don't recall off the top of my head what the type is. Let's see. Class list. I guess I just have to do that. Then, if it is, then we just have to reassign it. We just have to append the new ID. So, let's see. What's the new ID? Well, it's the user info ID. Let's keep this up here so that it knows what IDs exist. And actually do that to where it's, you don't have to check the type. We can assume it exists, and if it's falsy, then it's an empty list. And so what it's going to do, instead of looking at the entire session, it's going to look at the existent list of IDs. It's just going to generate a random ID, and if it's in the list, then but we also want to make sure it's not an existing user. So this is what we'll do. We'll go from range 1 to, we don't need to. I have an idea, let's make it negative. So, I mean, it's really arbitrary. Let's say there's a maximum of 36 anonymous users in one chat. No, that's kind of stupid. Well, let's say so if we're giving a negative ID for an anonymous user, then might as well yeah, we might as well just do that. I mean, I don't really plan on having like 2,000 people in some kind of chat room, honestly, so it's like really kind of just random. So the likelihood of it actually being in the existing IDs is very slim, so it's probably not going to pass. So let's just make this recursive. So yeah, it's gonna get an anonymous ID. So that way we can do that. So let's see. Oh, darn it. Cool. Oh shit. Yeah. Who's ever watching, if you have a YouTube account, please subscribe. Okay, is someone watching? Krem, are you watching? I know. So the reason why I'm not going to just give them larger IDs is because it's auto increment. So like, let's say someone's media server goes like off the like just crazy big, you know, like it's not going to happen, but this is an example. Like, I don't want it to be within the domain of valid IDs, you know, for actual users. I want it to be in the domain of fake users that don't have a profile, don't have any of this. So that way the front end can just say, oh, the ID is negative, that means it's anonymous. So that's kind of a simple thing rather than having like the front end know about that kind of stuff. You see what I'm saying? I hope that makes sense. Right. So user info, we're just gonna give an ID that's anonymous and a username guest. Then we can have an account serializer if they're not anonymous. So great, now we have the IDs in the session, sorted in the session. And we have the offer being sent. So we actually don't, or sorry, no, we do need the visit channel. Now, let's see. So WebSocket receive is connected to Connect Message, and Connect Message will do, I think this is, I just copied and pasted from the default documentation. Let's see what they want us to do with it. I guess we're just gonna get this as a response that we should accept the connection, and then it's gonna add them to the channel or the group of right. So we're getting the chat group from the message, and not only do we want to send the message about the new session, it looks like upon sending a message, the other WebSocket will receive a connect message that simply tells it to accept a connection. Alright, so I think we do get added to the group later on. Doesn't add them immediately. but this print, I think this belongs down here because it's not going to accept the connection, you know, early. So this WS chat message is just text messages, and right now it's unauthenticated, so that's, I think I'm just going to comment this out. I don't want to think that it works. It's not connected to WebSocket receive either. So connect message, it's not, it's connected to receive actually. So how are they doing it? Yeah, they're doing it so it does send the accept stuff here, or sorry, in this. So maybe that's what we should be doing. But I feel like possibly that we should be doing both at the same time. So we don't know the room here because it's not in the channel session, right? We need to infer the room name from the path and then add them to the group. And once we add them to the group, we are sending, oops, that's wrong. We're going to take their session and assign that to the room. Actually, we're doing that before we sorry. And before we add them to the group, we need to assign the room to the session. And yeah, this is actually working out fairly well, I think. We don't need that. Now, and let me see, let's do this right, and then it's going to accept the connection request, so that it's broadcasted, hey, accept this dude. And it's going to say if the connection was accepted, but we also want to append the channel session IDs. And the visit channel, I think what it will do is it's going to have to add this new information to their own session as well. So I think dang it. Now look here. And persisting data, that's what we're doing. And let's see. So just a minute. Oh yeah. Getting burgers. Alright. So. Channel session. So I think by adding someone to the group, you actually do trigger some sort of receive event. So the routing maybe takes control, but what's confusing is that this is a functional view, and it doesn't seem to me that it implies that it sends, that a connect event triggers a receive event on all the other clients. So that's strange that group add do that. So I'm thinking when you do group add, So yes, it definitely does seem to trigger a message event or WebSocket receive event. Okay, it's going down. Okay, so I'm just gonna trust that that works. So it looks like I do need that. Yeah, and let's go ahead and infer that from the from here. So that's gonna send the username. Or that's in the offer as well, the WebRTC offer. I don't know. Yeah, no. Okay, that's then what I was saying was incorrect. It doesn't automatically do that. It's gonna use the channel to do that. So what that means though is that we'll need some kind of way of notifying them. So when it says persisting data, where the hell is it doing that? Well, it's persisting the user, but it's not persisting the user ID, you know. I guess the front end will have to do that. Maybe. No, we can't just receive an arbitrary list from the front end, right? We need to have it on all of the channel session lists. So is there a way to set group session storage? That'd be very nice, so that the session storage is per group rather than let's look at group. I want to have a way to, rather than store down the user's channel, store down on some sort of group-wide groups. Oh, it is. We also have to JSON dump it. Why wasn't it not doing that before? That's weird. I guess wait. So when you send across the channel, you don't need to do it. Is that what it's saying? And then when you send across a group, you do? I think it's in data binding. Man, this is too much documentation reading. There we go. WebSocket binding. So yeah, it looks like we just need a binding for the user. That's interesting. And we're gonna say group names. And call this a... Oh, it has a model. It actually has a model. Wow. That's kind of a problem though, because if it has an actual model, then our whole negative ID thing kind of falls apart. So yeah, we can't do that. I just want to have it simple. I don't want to have any complex model stuff going on, because then it doesn't scale, you know. Well, we knew for sure that the client's going to manage the list of IDs on its own, and the only reason we really need to have the IDs stored in the channel session is that other IDs may collude with the anonymous ones, but the only reason that they would collude is if it colludes with other anonymous users. And so yeah, it's telling us to just look at the documentation, or sorry, look at the source file directly. Damn. Documentation for this is really bad. So when we receive an offer or send an offer, we're going to get the ID from the visit, and I suppose we could simply put that in the group message. I just have something like this where, you know, the STP is the message content. We don't need that visit channel. So the IDs, channel session IDs is a problem though, as I said, because it seems that each channel, each person's channel seems to have its own session. Groups don't appear to have that capability. Now I'm going to go ahead and look at the code because I feel this is wrong. There must be some way, besides using Redis, or besides that, they must have a standard way. So let's look in group, maybe sessions. And I didn't see it there. So where is group? Let's see where group is defined. Class group, here we are. It's a group of channels, alright, and wow, it just sends a message. It doesn't actually have any persistent storage. Okay. Then channel layer. What's channel layer gonna be? I guess that's what the storage stuff comes in. So, oh, I see. Yeah. Right, so there's no storage on groups. How unfortunate. It looks like we'll actually have to use Redis to store this, which is a kind of a pain, to be honest, because I wasn't planning on doing that. Yeah. Okay, so nobody's watching. I just kind of dipped. I'm just gonna end the stream. We'll probably be back. I don't know. Okay. We're gonna be back. So, yeah.